it out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 636th episode of Energy Week with George Harvey and Nancy Wolf.
Hello there.
Hello. You're back.
I'm back.
Very good.
I'm happy to be back.
For those, what we're doing here is covering a week's news. This is a news aggregation show for energy and climate change. The original for this is my blog, geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. You can go there, click on the date on the calendar for a piece that we're talking about and find it and go through the link and get to the original article so that you can read the original article. Or you can go to tinyurl, and it is tinyurl/Energy Week 636, which is, there's a link to that somewhere off screen, whatever direction you go. And that just has the material used in the show, so you can do that. And I guess we're going to start.
Yeah, let's
okay.
start.
This image is a wind farm in where?
Powell County,
Powell
Idaho.
County, Idaho.
Yeah, and the headline here is, it's from Yahoo News, and the headline here is U.S. Secretary of Interior announces end to Lava Ridge wind project in Idaho.
The Interior Department announced that the Lava Ridge wind project is being canceled. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum said he would reverse approval of the large wind farm project that had been approved to be built outside Twin Falls on Bureau of Land Management land. We're going to get back to this because this is a pattern. This is a pattern that the federal government is doing, and they have no idea. Doug Burgum has, I think, absolutely no thought of where he's going with this. And I will give you the numbers associated with it later on. This is really dangerous. And we're going to, before Donald Trump is out of office, we're going to be suffering the results of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything else to say about that?
Just that, yeah.
It's really dangerous.
It's, yeah, yes.
Okay. Our next item, we have a picture of is that a turtle or a tortoise? That's I
cannot.
One of them has
you.
claws and the other has flippers, and I
don't know which.
Just don't remember which is which, and I never have. So this is a picture of the Great Barrier Reef, not in a terrible bleached out state, but the item is from Euronews.
Yeah, and the headline here is record coral losses in Great Barrier Reef spark concern over escalating climate stress.
Parts of Australia's iconic reef suffered their worst annual decline since records began almost 40 years ago. Back-to-back climate stressors have driven a sharp drop in coral cover, which is the percentage of the reef surface covered in live coral, in 3 regions. And, you know, the news of the Great Barrier Reef just goes from bad to worse. And it's something that has been showing up in the news that I've been doing for this show since its start.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've known about this my whole life as
Yeah. Yep. Well, it's one of those things. There's a lot of work being done on this. There are a lot of people who are putting in work, doing things like finding coral in the Persian Gulf or the Red Sea or somewhere over there, they're finding coral that stands very high temperatures, and they're breeding it and moving it to Australia so that the reef can be rebuilt with coral that it actually does take the heat, but the coral shouldn't have to take the heat. So,
yeah.
Okay, should we go on?
Yeah, let's go on.
Let's do it. This is something that I put in simply because I find it incredible that the federal government would attempt to do something like this.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So this is from ABC News, and the headline here is, critics of alligator Alcatraz argue it should be shuttered due to environmental concerns.
An 8-hour hearing on environmental concerns over the Florida migrant detention center called Alligator Alcatraz ended without even establishing who runs the facility. What is going on here? We still do not know whether it's run by the state or the federal government. But the big problem here is they're building the facility without any of the environmental review that was necessary to do it. They're not doing, we've got a state and the federal government that is operating outside the law.
Yes.
The federal government is an outlaw, I guess.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Although the original meaning of the term outlaw doesn't apply.
No, it doesn't apply, no.
Do you know what an outlaw was? An outlaw.
No, maybe I don't. Tell me.
An outlaw was a person who had been found guilty of a crime so bad that he would no longer be protected by the law. He was outside the law. And if anybody stole from him, he had no recourse. If anybody murdered him, he had no recourse. Not that he had recourse anyway. But what we have here is a federal government, and it's happening over and over again. It's happening in every way that I can imagine it happening.
Yeah.
Before we started the show, I typed a thing into the Google AI search thing and asked it a question. And I said, is there anybody in the cabinet who is not doing things that are outrageous? And it said, yes, there are some people in the cabinet who are not doing things that are outrageous.
Did it tell you who was not being outrageous? Okay, that's.
But you know, it's
they exist. There are cabinet members who are not. Okay.
I only know one person in the cabinet, and that's Tulsi Gabbard. I like Tulsi Gabbard. We've talked at times, and she as a cabinet member does things that I don't understand. I don't know. And frankly, I think there might be some kind of pathology behind this, but nevertheless. Okay, we are up to Friday, August 8th.
Yeah.
And we have a picture of a wind turbine. That's easy enough.
Yeah, this is from ReNews, and the headline here is Vestas wins 274 megawatt turbine order in Canada.
Vestas has secured a 274 megawatt order from EDF Power Solutions North America for the Madawaska wind project and I don't even know what language that is, so I always apologize for bad pronunciation, but that I'm certain was bad pronunciation. In Quebec, which is also called Quebec, Canada. Well, when I lived in Illinois as a child, I was taught it was Quebec. Now I know it's Quebec, but I don't know. The deal covers the supply of 20 V162-6.0 MW. By the way, there's meaning to that, and that kind of nomenclature is consistent from one company to another. And what that means is the V162 means that this has a windswept area of 162 meters, which is big. 6.0 MW is 6 megawatts. And 20 V162 6.2 megawatt, Ventus turbines alongside a 10-year active output management 5,000 service agreement. Output management 5,000 is something that means something past output management. I don't know what though. And it's not entirely easy to find out. But nonetheless, there it is. We have this. This is just an example of item after item that comes up in the news. They come up every day.
Yeah.
You know, and well, we'll get to, we talk about this kind of thing all the time. Maybe we should just go on with that.
Go on.
Yeah. Okay. And here is the Perito Moreno Glacier, an item from ABC News.
Yeah, so the headline here is massive. 18-mile-long Patagonia glacier experiencing rapid ice loss for first time.
What was once thought the most stable glacier in Patagonia is undergoing ice loss at rates far greater than previously thought, according to a study. The glacier, measuring 18.6 miles long, has retreated nearly half a mile in some areas over the past few years. Just for people who don't know, and I know there's some out there, because there are a lot of people who really don't know much about geography. As a person who loved geography as a child, you know, I know where Patagonia is. Patagonia is the southern half of Argentina, along with about the southernmost third of Chile. So this is a big area, and this glacier is in an area that's pretty cold, and that area is it includes Tierra del Fuego. So this is a cold area, and here is a glacier that had been stable. It isn't anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next item, even a candle. This is from Clean Technica.
Yeah, even a candle. Okay. Yes. I have lost my place. Even a candle. Okay. Yeah, I have lost my place. Make America gaslit again.
Yeah.
That's what we got.
Trump and company are trying to shut down as much renewable energy as possible. I think this is true. They're really trying to shut down renewable energy.
Yes.
And they're doing so as rapidly as possible. Will the surviving wind and solar power be enough? Probably not. It would probably not be enough in any event because demand is rising rapidly. We should prepare because the numbers don't add up. And this is what I was talking about when I said there are things happening in Washington that just don't make sense. The federal government is abdicating its responsibility. As ordinary human beings, we've got to be ready to take responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Enough. What is called enough here is enough to cover demand. And I have an extensive note here. Net installations expected over the next 3 years come to about 119 gigawatts. Of this, 0 gigawatts is coal. 0 gigawatts is nuclear. 6 gigawatts is natural gas. So that means 113 gigawatts is the combination of 23 gigawatts of wind power and 90 gigawatts of solar. And that's what they're trying to kill.
Yep.
Now, here's the problem. How we've got demand rising, and knowledgeable people are worried that we're not going to be able to meet demand, assuming that all of these things get installed. And if they're gonna kill solar and wind, they've got to replace it with something. Now, solar is really fast to install. A solar installation might go up in a year, or a year and a half, or 2 years. 2 years means gigantic installation. A wind installation takes a little bit longer. Natural gas takes a lot longer than that. Nuclear, well, the next nuclear plant to come along, if it comes along at the rate of the old nuclear plants that were built, my great-grandson is going to be an adult and probably have kids of his own when that plant opens. Because I've seen plants come online that took decades to put together. Now, I saw an article, and I don't think we're talking about it, but it did appear, which said, oh, no, wait a minute. It does appear. I don't know if it appears this week or next. 11 designs for micro reactors. I don't know. I don't remember. It should, I think it was today. But they're talking about 11 reactor designs for micro reactors, which the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is expected to approve within the coming year. That's the administration wants them approved within a year. And the Democrats on the committee that governs this stuff is saying, wait a minute, this isn't safe. You can't put a nuclear power plant through this thing in 1 year. But they're going to try to do it.
Yes.
Even if they try to do it, the history of the nuclear industry says that if it's going to happen in a year, it doesn't mean that it's going to take 1 year. It means it'll take 2 or 3 or 4. And if they're going to build a factory, for a microreactor, they have to build the factory. The design has to be approved, but they also have to build the factory. Building the factory is going to require figuring out who's going to loan the money.
Yes.
Is the federal government going to loan the money? Well,
that's one of the things, the reason why these things take so long. You're trying to put all of these things in place, and you're nuclear, but you're also trying to put all these things in place so that you don't have something where you've built something and then you can't continue because there's no more money.
But what they do typically in that industry is they say, it'll cost $10 billion to build this reactor. And then having spent $10 billion, they go back to the state government and say, we need another $10 billion.
Yeah.
So then the state has to decide, are we going to abandon the $10 billion we've already put into this, or are we going to commit to $10 billion more?
Just double down or not at all.
And $10 billion more, is that enough?
Maybe. Who knows? We're not really sure yet. We'll let you know when we find out.
And then the cost of nuclear power is so high compared to the cost of solar power.
Yeah.
It is just incredibly high. And the electricity is not as reliable. And it is not of as a quality that is as high. Why is it not reliable? Because nuclear power plants have got to be repowered every 18 months. When does the sun shut down for a month? It doesn't.
It doesn't.
And, you know, if you look at it in the United States, the sun shuts down and the sun comes up. Very predictable.
Yeah.
We know a century in advance what time it's going to come up in a certain place on a certain date. The wind, does the wind stop blowing? Never. The wind never stops blowing.
No.
Maybe it will for this turbine in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, we have transmission lines, and this is utter insanity. They're trying to shut down the 113 gigawatts out of the 119 gigawatts that are being put together in the next year. Stop renewables, and we stop 95% of new generating capacity expected to come online. Meanwhile, some knowledgeable person is worried that the demand isn't going to be enough because we've got, metacoin things and artificial intelligence. And
Yeah.
yeah, I use artificial intelligence. I did something yesterday that was really interesting. I asked how many escort carriers the United States had at the end of the Second World War. And I got an answer in 5 seconds. 133. Well, I had already counted the number of escort carriers at the end of the Second World War, and I knew that there were 67 of them. Artificial intelligence has a problem.
It's artificial?
No, it's based on the way human beings do things.
Yeah.
You spend billions of dollars and you use billions of watts of power and you come up with answers that are based on human error prone.
Yes.
There are other ways. There's another way to do artificial intelligence. And I have a patent on it, which, by the way, expired. So anybody could do it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're up to Saturday, August 9th.
Yeah.
And we have a lovely picture. I really like this picture. I look at this picture and I say, you know, I would like to live in Paris. That is Montmartre.
Yeah.
And this is from Euronews.
Yeah. So the headline here is, will European cities become unlivable?
Yeah, due to the heat effect, cities are especially affected by heat. Wow, that's a statement. Cities can be 10 degrees Celsius to 15 degrees Celsius hotter. That is 18 degrees Fahrenheit to 27 degrees Fahrenheit hotter. And by the way, if you go online and you say, what is 10 degrees Celsius? You'll get the wrong answer. Because here it's 18 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're talking about okay, 0 degrees Celsius is 32 degrees Fahrenheit, so the conversion is not straightforward. If you're going from a temperature reading on a thermometer to a temperature reading on a thermometer, but that's not what this is. This is the difference in how hot it is. 18 degrees Fahrenheit to 27 degrees Fahrenheit hotter in rural areas around them during summer. There are green solutions, and many cities are adapting. But if carbon dioxide emissions are not reduced to zero, experts warn cities could become unlivable anyway.
Yep.
And I think that's true. That is a lovely neighborhood. I see that and I think of the Lois Lane, who was in the Adventures of Superman TV shows that came out in the early 1950s. Do you have any connection with that at all?
Not really, no, but
this girl was the number 2 pinup during the Second World War. She was absolutely gorgeous. But, you know, she had a part in the movie American in Paris. And I don't remember her name, but Gene Kelly took his paintings as the painter, you know, and put them up on a wall, which was not in Montmartre. And she came by and started commenting on the pictures, and he shooed her away. Anyway, we are behind because I'm being too chatty today. We have an item from Euronews. I'm sorry, that's not Euronews. Clean Technica.
yeah. So the headline here is, Leapmotor gets its own ocean vessel for vehicle shipments.
Leapmotor is a Chinese manufacturer of electric vehicles. Leapmotor is really excelling and deserves more of a nod. It is a Chinese EV brand that is seeing soaring overseas sales, especially in Europe. Now it has its own ship, the Grand Tianjin, which, by the way, is leased through Grimaldi Lines, which is why that sign is on the side of the ship, to deliver cars. Its new EV, which is called its B10, has a starting price of 99,800 yuan, which is $13,900. That's the base price of the car. It will be available in China, maybe in Europe, not the United States.
Not the
and
United
if
States.
it weren't available in the United States, it would not cost $13,900. It would probably cost $27,800 or something like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, okay, now we're up to an item from ABC News, and we have a picture of Phoenix from the mountains.
So the headline here, it's from ABC News, over 50 million people on alert for dangerous heat in the Southwest.
Extreme heat warnings remain in effect for parts of the desert Southwest. Phoenix has already seen a high of 118 degrees Fahrenheit. This is not only the hottest temperature ever recorded in the month of August, that is, I believe, in Phoenix. It's also tied for the 9th hottest day of all time since records began in 1895. I think they're talking about the record in Phoenix there. The record for the United States is higher than 118.
Yes.
So we've had, this summer has been hot in Brattleboro.
Yes.
And I don't remember a summer that was hot like this before.
Yeah.
Okay, you have more on that?
Not
Okay.
at this moment.
Okay. Now we have something exciting. We're up to Sunday, August 10th, and we have an item from MSN.
Yeah, so the headline here is high temperatures to affect nuclear power production in southwest France.
Oh, yeah. High water temperatures are expected to affect electricity production in the Garonne River from August 12th, particularly at 2.6 gigawatt Golfe, however it's pronounced, nuclear plant. Nuclear operator EDF said in a notice, the high temperatures are also expected to affect other plants. We will have more on this. And nuclear plants can be shut down for a whole bunch of different reasons, and I will get into those when we get to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay? Now we have what I think is a great photo. And this is from Euronews.
Headline here is climate solutions that can spread fast.
Yeah.
Scientists outline a strategy to tip the system.
What they're talking about is good tipping points, and these are tipping points that can be engineered. An international research group has a new method to identify, quote, positive tipping points, end quote, when small shifts in behavior, technology, or power policy could lead to sweeping, self-containing climate progress. Their proposed plan is described in the journal Sustainability Science. And what they're talking about is things that will move people.
Yeah.
And, if you think about Taylor Swift, for example. Taylor Swift is a beautiful woman. Is she a great singer? I think there are probably better singers out there, to tell you the truth. Is she a great... the person I would compare her to is Michael Jackson, who I think is not a musical genius, not a genius at dancing, not a genius at, you name it, list a bunch of things. He's not a genius at, but he is a genius as an entertainer.
Yeah.
He knew that he could do something that nobody had ever seen before, and the audience would love it. Just imagine Michael Jackson practicing moonwalking without ever having shown it to anybody from a stage. It took, I think, a little bit of courage to go out there and do that on stage, except he knew. And I think Taylor Swift has that kind of ability. She's a great entertainer. Not a great actress, and a good singer. But
she's got personality.
She's got personality. Yeah. How much is personality worth in terms of salary?
I mean, that's kind of what celebrities have, right? They have personality.
Well, some of them do.
Right? That's what they're banking on, right? Is their
Yes,
personality.
I think it is.
That's the, yeah.
Taylor Swift could go to Madison Square Garden and just say, I'm going to be there, I'm going to entertain, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. And she would be able to play to a packed audience because of something that she has. And here they're talking about identifying things that will move people in much the same way. I don't think there's a lot of science behind this, except you can kind of predict, if you test it, what people are going to be moved by. Okay, we have a picture, and I'm a little bit annoyed about this picture. And the reason I'm a little bit annoyed is because that looks like a steep slope that those guys are working on. But that slope is a whole lot steeper than it looks. And how do I know that? Because all the trees are leaning to the right.
Yep.
I prefer to have something that is vertical for vertical. Okay, this is from PBS.
Yeah, so here we have a new study shows how climate change is driving wildfire season to start earlier in California.
This is really surprising, I thought. Fire season is expanding in California with an earlier start to wildfire activity in most of the state. In parts of the northern mountains, the wildfire season is now starting more than 10 weeks earlier than it did in the 1990s. Well, if it's starting 10 weeks earlier, and just for the sake of argument, say it ends 10 weeks later, I don't think there's any part of the year that isn't in wildlife season.
Yeah.
This is bad.
Yeah.
So
I met someone recently who moved from Denver to Vermont, and the reason was wildfires. After dealing with so many wildfires, they just did not want to. And actually, it was one of the fires that was near the nuclear waste site.
It burned
that I covered
up to the fence.
Right up to the fence. So this person had just mentioned that. Oh yeah, it's a great decision to make. I was just so tired of dealing with this and worrying about it.
Yeah.
So.
One thing very few people know about, and I want to mention it because, when you're giving some group of people a license to build a nuclear facility or something, this is the kind of thing people should pay attention to. The same day as the Chicago fire, there was a fire in Wisconsin called the Peshtigo fire. And the Peshtigo fire was far more damaging in terms of the number of people killed. There were villages in which 100% of the population was lost in Wisconsin to the Peshtigo fire. But one of the things the Peshtigo fire did was it jumped Green Bay. The narrowest part of Green Bay is 10 miles of water. It jumped this barrier of 10 miles of water and burned the other side down. And they know that this happened because, it apparently happened, but they were doing things like finding a sign that, as a matter of record, had been on a store in one place and had been set on fire, torn loose, went up in a wildfire tornado, went up so high that the air was so thin that the fire went out, and then it got dropped down many miles away. And there are people who believe that that fire not only jumped Green Bay, but after it jumped Green Bay, jumped Lake Michigan. And there are laws that say you can't build a nuclear power plant in a place that is close to where there has been a historic fire. I don't remember exactly how that works, but I think any nuclear power plant in Wisconsin should have been turned down for that reason.
Yeah.
We've been lazy about enforcement in the past. I know pro-nuclear people would say I'm just flat out wrong. It's been terrible. But one thing about nuclear, they're always bragging about how proven they have been for safety.
Yeah.
And I point out, and I've only had one person who is pro-nuclear respond to this. Before a nuclear power plant is built, that plant has to be analyzed for safety. This is all over the world, not just in the United States. Safety analysis always includes an analysis of the likelihood of the plant melting down, what they call a core damage event. Now, the event at 3 Mile Island was a partial meltdown that did not get out of containment. So, according to the people who analyze these things, it was relatively safe. Now, I saw things on television at the time that really kind of bothered me. But the safety analysis for all of the plants that we have comes to the likelihood of a plant melting down being 1 in 20,000. Some of them 1 in 10,000, more recent ones 1 in 20,000. A few of them very recently 1 in 50,000. Now they're talking about plants that can't melt down. But 1 in 20,000. We've had about 20,000 reactor years, so we should have had 1 meltdown. We're a little bit behind schedule, so I'm not going to name the 11 plants that melted down. But 3 of them were in the United States. And I'm just counting plants that were online selling electricity to customers. 3 Mile Island was one, but there was also Fermi and SRE, which was in Simi Valley, California, which, by the way, I think was the worst of the 3. But, nobody bothered figuring out how much stuff was released.
Right. Yep.
That was bad.
Yep.
Okay, we're up to Monday, August 11th, and we're behind schedule.
Yeah. So the headline here, it's just from Clean Technica. The headline here is Offshore Wind Study Confirms the Obvious.
Research in North Sea wind farms in the UK indicates that the floating offshore wind field is an opportunity for the concrete industry. As applied to the United States, that means that long swaths of deep water coastline, unsuitable for fixed monopiles, but it could be used for this, but it will be prevented by a convicted felon. Do I have to go on? No? Okay.
No.
This next one is from Clean Technica, and we have I don't know how to pronounce GAEA.
Gaia.
Gaia.
Gaia
I think
Star?
that must be what it is. Gaia Star ceramic cups.
There we go. So this is from Clean Technica, and the headline here is, it's time to divest from plastic. Ceramics are one viable alternative.
Okay, plastics treaty negotiations began August 5th and are due to conclude on the 14th. Now, we're recording this on the 14th, so we're a little bit behind Geneva, so I think they've probably ended unless they've been extended. But failures of the proceedings have put the fate of the plastics treaty in jeopardy. In this article, we look at ceramics as an alternative to plastics for many articles. And the ceramics that are being used here in these things, those are ceramic cups that can be reused, but they can also be thrown away. This is a replacement for a plastic throwaway cup.
throw away saran. I can't. How can you throw away? I know, I understand, but
Yeah, I know. But this means that, you can have these cups that are stacked up and they can be distributed and they can be cheap, like, as not much difference in the cost from a plastic cup. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, this next item, we have a picture of New York from space here. Actually, it's not New York from space, but, I guess it is actually. It's from NASA. And if that looks bizarre to you and you say, New York? Really? Okay, south is up and to the right. North is down and to the left. That thing that runs from the upper right to the lower left is the Hudson River. Above the Hudson River is the island of Manhattan. That bright spot in the middle of the picture, I think, must be bright lights on Manhattan. To the lower left of that is Central Park. Mm-hmm. Brooklyn is up in this picture, about the middle of the picture. Queens, to the left of that. Bronx is all the way to the left in the picture. New Jersey occupies half of this. So, anyway.
Well, this is from Euronews, and
right.
This is Google launched an AI model that functions like a virtual satellite.
Right. Now, the point of the article is that could be used with that picture could be used with other images to create in real time, a map that has whatever features you want. If you wanted to say, show me where the subways run and where the green places people can play are on one map, it could do that. Mm-hmm. Satellites gather images, help scientists understand our planet, But these images come from many different sources, and it can be difficult to combine them into a single picture. Google's AI model, Alpha Earth Foundations, can combine them to create highly detailed maps almost in real time. Okay, I believe it. I don't want to build a nuclear power plant to support that. I'm sorry.
No, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go on.
Yeah, let's go.
We're up to Tuesday, August 12th. And we have a picture of jellyfish.
Yes.
Whoops.
Oh, not that one. These jellyfish.
These are baby jellyfish, I think.
So this is from Euronews.
Yes.
And our headline is Jellyfish Forced Shutdown of French Nuclear Plant.
I told you we were going to get back to this. EDF confirmed that 4 of the 6 reactors at the Gravelines nuclear power plant were shut down by jellyfish clogging the cooling system. 4 out of 6 reactors. And by the way, the other 2 reactors, why weren't they shut down? They weren't running at all. So, there wasn't anything to shut down.
Jellyfish had nothing that they could do.
That's right. Their abundance was tied to sea temperatures raised by climate change. The remaining reactors were down for maintenance already. So all 5.4 gigawatts were not operating.
We're worried about windmills, apparently. We're worried about windmills, and jellyfish are destroying nuclear plants.
Well, this plant is already back online. I think they got at least 1 reactor back online.
Are the jellyfish back online, though?
No, they're all I don't know what they do with a jellyfish. What do you do with a dead jellyfish? If it's a cannonball jellyfish, you can dry it and sell it for food to human beings in China who like such things to eat. I'd like to try it, but we don't eat jellyfish much in the United States.
I have not had an experience.
Well, there are people who really like eating jellyfish.
Yes.
But the point of this article, okay, we had nuclear plants shut down because of high water temperatures. Mm-hmm. We can have a nuclear plant shut down because the high sea temperatures cause things to grow in the sea that clog the cooling systems. A couple of years ago in Texas, we had a winter storm that ended electric generation all over the state. Texas has 3 nuclear power plants. One of them was down. Why? Because it was too cold. Cold can shut down nuclear power plants. And you go down the list. And then on top of everything else, just read the articles relating to Zaporizhia.
Yes.
Day after day.
Yes.
The Russians are accusing the Ukrainians of shelling the plant, which, by the way, I don't believe at all, because that would be, if that plant was melted down, it would do incredible damage in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
I should say in Ukraine.
In Ukraine, yes, that
Ukrainians.
Why would you hurt yourself?
Yeah.
That badly? You're trying to save your country. Why would you destroy it?
Yeah. But what does this tell you? Well, nuclear plants can be shut down by wars. And when they're shut down by wars, by the way, they can become really serious problems.
Or they can become weapons.
They can become targets. A target and a weapon, both at the same time.
Yes.
And why do we have them?
Yeah.
They produce the most expensive electricity you can get.
I think the answer to this is the Manhattan Project is the answer to your question. Why?
Actually, it isn't the most expensive because peaking power plants run by natural gas are more expensive than nuclear power. But nuclear power is, if you list solar plus batteries backing up the solar so that it's firmed, wind plus batteries to be firmed, both of which produce better quality electricity more reliably all the time. Their cost is below 4 cents. It's expected to fall below 3 cents per kilowatt hour, where the cost of new nuclear plants is upwards of 10 cents. And small modular reactors, from everything I've read, and you can only read speculations about this because nobody's actually built one. And these small modular reactors, or the micro reactors or whatever, are all expected to produce expensive electricity. And, if you want them to be safe in warfare, put them in mines about a mile down.
Maybe further.
Huh?
I said maybe further.
Maybe, but I think a mile would be enough.
Maybe.
Okay. This power plant, by the way, the Gravelines plant, has a canal that goes to the English Channel, and those jellyfish went up the canal. And the other nuclear power plant that ran into trouble was in southern France. So, okay. We have a picture of 1 to 21 Wall Street sign, Clean Technica published.
Yeah.
My father, by the way, worked at 1 Wall Street at one time.
I worked
Made
at
scads
State
of-
Street. I worked on 1 State Street.
Oh, really?
My first job.
Dad made scads of money at 1 Wall Street. And then he became an Episcopal priest.
Good things about those Episcopalians.
Well, you know what they say about Episcopalians. Wherever you find 4 of them, you will find a 5th. I heard that from an Episcopal priest, by the way. So.
Well, so our headline here is U.S. banks cut fossil fuel financing as the market outweighs politics.
Wall Street's 6 largest banks cut their financing to oil, gas, and coal projects by 25% year over year through August 2025. In dollar terms, that means a cut of roughly $97 billion in 2024 to $73 billion this year. That is a cut from $97 billion to $73 billion. Morgan Stanley cut its fossil fuel lending by more than half. And, this is, I think this is just indicative of what's happening elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just sort of talking about this earlier today, where it's just reality.
Yeah.
And that's just it.
Yeah. There's a reason why 95% of our new generating capacity that's scheduled is either solar or wind. Okay, we have an item from Renews, and we have a picture of messy looking land and a wind turbine. There's actually a couple of wind turbines, but the others is very small. We're up to, no, we're not up to Wednesday yet. Go ahead.
Not quite. So this is from Renews, and the headline is Vestas secures 950 megawatts of U.S. orders.
Vestas has secured orders totaling 950 megawatts for undisclosed wind energy projects in the United States. The company did not disclose project details or turbine models, but said the orders form part of the latest intake in the region. The announcement follows yesterday's news that Vestas won a 40 megawatt order in Poland. And the importance of this, of course, is somebody is putting up a wind farm that BLM can't shut down. Well, why can they do that? Because BLM doesn't own everything.
Yep.
So there you have it. You got any more on that?
No.
Okay. Now we're up to Wednesday, August 13th, and we have an item from Euro News.
Yeah, I like this picture. Use of plastics and global plastics treaty negotiations.
The world's nations are convening at the UN conference in Geneva to negotiate a deal aimed at tackling plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. Many wish to reduce production and use of specific chemicals. Some oil-producing countries oppose these goals in favor of managing waste. And, we recycle. We try to manage waste, and most of it ends up in ocean gyres. Mm-hmm. So that just strikes me as bizarre. Okay, I'm going to go on.
Yep.
This is from ABC News, and we have the Mendenhall River.
Yeah. So here we go. It's an ice dam at Glacier releases floodwater toward downstream homes.
A huge basin of rainwater and snowmelt dammed by Alaska's Mendenhall Glacier is releasing, and residents in parts of Juneau are urged to evacuate ahead of flooding downstream. Last year, the Mendenhall River's release flow was about half that of Niagara Falls. Now, if you look at that picture, if you want to put that picture back up, if there you go. If you look at that picture, imagine half the flow of Niagara Falls going through that river. That's stunning. And this has become an annual event in Juneau. And, they have a couple hundred houses that are subject to this. And it's a good thing that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are not meeting in Juneau. They're meeting in Anchorage. So, I like mountains.
I like mountains.
Okay, and our last item is from Clean Technica. Mm-hmm. And we have a hybrid solar wind power plant.
Yeah, so Casa dos Ventos selects next tracker for 1.5 gigawatts of solar projects in Brazil.
Casa dos Solos, known for its leadership in Brazil's wind energy sector, is now including solar in its portfolio of renewables, part of a growing trend for Brazilian developers aiming to optimize projects. It awarded contracts for 4 solar projects totaling 1,563 megawatts. And I don't think that picture is actually of one. No, it isn't. Casa dos Ventos awarded contracts, and of course this picture over here doesn't show one of those projects, well, unless it shows it as a computer-generated graphic, that could be. They're getting very good at that, you know.
Graphics, yeah.
Computer-generated graphics.
Yeah.
When I was in school, you know, I went to Pratt Institute and studied art. And the idea of computer-generated graphics would have been... I don't know how I would have felt about it at that time.
Wow, yeah. It's pretty much all of graphic design. It's computer generated. A lot of
it is. There are people who can still do traditional graphics.
Yes.
And honestly, I think there may be reasons for that. In this particular picture, you can see the wind turbines on the right there, tilting to the right. And the reason why that happened is because the camera is higher than they are, and it's kind of looking down. And that changes the angles in ways that when I was in school, they did not understand. I remember a teacher saying the reason why the direction line, you stand on the train tracks and you look toward the horizon where the train tracks. Well, if the train turns and it goes someplace, you can extend those direction lines and say, here's what it would look like if the train tracks ran straight to the horizon. The direction lines are straight. They're always straight. And the teacher told us they look a little curved, but that's because our eyes are spherical. And I thought about that and I thought, no, that can't be. Why would he say that? Our brains take these things and move them around, you know. And I did research on it, and I came to the conclusion that, in fact, the direction lines are not straight. They look straight when they're rendered. They look straight when they're photographed. Yeah. But they're not really straight. You go on the train tracks, you go from the tracks meeting at the horizon, and you turn 90 degrees, and over here they're horizontal. And then they curve back up again and meet at the other. So
called refracted, infracted, refracted.
It's called a sine wave.
Refraction.
Yes.
That's what you're just.
And
yes,
you know the reason why we don't see them in artwork that way is because we're using the wrong dimensions. We're using length, width, and height, but we don't perceive the world that way. We think of the world as degrees, right and left of straight ahead, up and down, and then the distance. So it's longitude, latitude, and distance instead of length, width, and height. And if you do longitude, latitude, and distance, then you realize that a regular drawing is a projection of the sphere that we have around us. Sphere of perception,
flat or not. Yes.
And the projection onto a flat a plane that's tangent to it at a point, but you can wrap your sphere of perception with a cylinder and do a projection from that, and it's like a Mercator projection. And on the Mercator projection, great circle routes are straight on a globe, but they follow curves. So now you know as much as I do. Okay.
Gotta go.
We tell everybody have a spectacularly quiet week, and I think we're done.
Yep.
So goodbye. Come back next time.
Come back next
I hope
time.
you enjoy this as much as we do.